Hello, everybody, and welcome to round 5 of the 2021 GP4 World ChampCar Offline Championship. It has been a while since the last race, but we are finally back. We are here at the famous streets of Long Beach in California, USA for round 5 of the championship. I'm JW97, and I'm joined today by Dennis Graff.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to see an exciting meeting here.
Yes, indeed, especially at a very famous track here in Long Beach. You may have seen the weather. It does say there is rain on the radar. However, I think we will avoid that rain because given how long the track is and given it is a one-shot qualifying session we use in this series, I think it is safe to assume that we will avoid the rain in this qualifying session. Whether it will arrive in the race, we will have to wait and see. Now, last time out at Laguna Seca, so you will have to rewind.
I think you just cut out there.
My luck with Discord today, I have no idea. But anyway, as I was saying before I got rudely cut off, as I was saying, last time out at Laguna Seca, so you will need to rewind yourself back a few weeks ago for that race. Quite a race full of attrition, it's fair to say. In the end, though, Bruno de Barros took his third win of the season. 3 wins out of 4. You could argue, Dennis, he could be an early favourite now for the title.
Yeah, not just could be, but he is an early favorite. Because he is by far the most consistent driver so far in the season, apart from Igor Peter. Yeah, it's no surprise that Bruno is leading by 15 points in the championship.
Indeed so. And the question is, will he make it 4 wins out of 5 here at Long Beach? It will be very, very interesting to see. He did get, though, if we're being honest there, he did get a little bit lucky at Laguna Seca because, as we mentioned, it was a race full of a lot of attrition. There were some big accidents, but because it was quite a glitchy corner, where those accidents happen, it didn't really count towards the injury system. So that's why the likes of Rubino Gonzalez, and I'm trying to remember, and I can't remember who the second one was that rolled, but they didn't get affected by it. So that's why they're still in this race today. It's Kirby.
Was it Zolga?
Zolga is the next one on track. I think it might have been Zolga, yeah, who did roll over as well. I don't think there's any penalties to report as well from memory, so I don't think there is any, unless somebody can remind us in the stream chat, but I don't think there is any to report on, as far as I'm concerned. So that's that, really, as we now look at Kirby now, then, who just makes his way through the section of corners, as he now approaches the turn the left-hander now. Now this track, of course, last used in the OC, of course, back in the 2014 season during Formula E's debut season, but it hasn't been used since, mainly because when I was the host, this track for some reason kept crashing on my computer for some unknown reason. But yeah, I couldn't really find the issue as to why it kept crashing on mine, but obviously because it is Yuri's computer, it doesn't crash on his, so at least we can use this track for World ChampCar, of course. So it is quite a short track here at the streets of Long Beach, so you should expect some very, very quick lap times around here, although not ones that are below the 1 minute zone, as you can see, as Kirby will set the benchmark a time of 1 minute 5.193 on the board. And speaking of Balint Zolga, he is out on the racetrack now then, who we were just talking about a little bit earlier on. So yeah, that's that really. As well, it's fair to say that this manufacturer, Dennis, has been creating quite a bit of a stir this past weekend. I can't put my finger on why, though. I think, is it something to do with the top class, Dennis? I can't really put my finger on it.
Yeah, I can help you with that. It was with the top class because yesterday the announcement was that BMW would team up with McLaren for the 2022 season to be also the new 6th engine manufacturer in the top class. So yeah, very exciting, and for me, to be honest, unexpected announcement.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yuri Gay will be next up. But yes, BMW is returning to the top class next season via a partnership with McLaren that will be similar to what BMW had in real life with Williams. Hopefully, it doesn't end up in the same way as what BMW and Williams' partnership did. And in McLaren's case, they'll be hoping it doesn't end up in the same way as their partnership with Honda back in 2015 to 2017, as Zolga is 7 thousandths down. Now, I think we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow during the top class qualifying, if Dennis is obviously in the commentary box tomorrow, but because it might be somebody else alongside me, who knows. But I think the one thing we can debate on as well is that obviously BMW are in this series, but also McLaren are in this series. Now, let's just get this clear. The announcement was only for the top class, but I think it does raise a bit of a speculation as to whether or not McLaren may partner along with BMW in the World Champ Car as well. So, do you think that could happen, Dennis, or do you think they'll still stay separate in this series?
To be honest, I think they will stay separate here because, well, to be honest, I don't have a big reason for that. Only my opinion is that they will stay separate here in the World Champ Car series.
My opinion, I think they will. I think they will switch to BMW, but of course, we'll obviously won't get an answer to that until the World Champ Car sign-ups open. So, which will hopefully be within the next few weeks. Because for anybody who's not aware, it is sign-up week because this weekend the Top Class sign-ups officially open. So a very exciting time for the OC. And we're very interested to see. Whilst we were speaking, of course, Zolga went to the top by 2/10 of a second, beating Kirby to the top of the timing sheet. As Yuri Gabriel starts his lap next up, as he now makes his way down towards turns number 2 on the track. Turn 1 is the right hand of his class as a turnaround here, as Thomas Cassidy will be next out on the racetrack. Yuri Gabriel has been a guy who has been riddled with a lot of bad looks in this series so far, and, well, he'll be hoping to clear that one up, Dennis.
Yeah, indeed. For him, so far, it was the best start to the season. He currently is last in the standings with 3 out of 4 retirements. The 3 retirements out of 4 races. Yeah, of course, last time out, Laguna Seca, he was also caught up in that massive shunt with debris flying everywhere at cars, losing wheels and car parts within 500 meters or something. So yeah, for him it was very unlucky there to retire.
Yeah, indeed. Now, from what I remember, I think there was a grid penalty issued out in Laguna Seca, but I do believe it was retracted after a similar incident happened a little bit later on. So I do believe there is no penalties to talk about for this. But as you saw there, Yuri Gabriel slots into 3rd position. As now we look at Thomas Cassidy in the Meyer Shank racing car. And obviously, it's been a bit of a shaky season for Meyer Shank, it is fair to say. I think a lot of people expected a little bit more better from them this season because a few times during the season they have been mingling a bit with the Vipers and the Manners. But at times they have shown some good pace, especially in the races, especially from the likes of DJ Papero. I mean, Cassidy has shown some decent pace, but he has been known to be quite inconsistent this season. So we'll wait and see if that becomes a thing during this race, as Cassidy will be starting his next up on track will be I actually don't even know. It's a little bit covered up there. I don't think it's Gabriel Gomez. Gomez is obviously coming out a little bit later on, I think, because I can't. Or did he crash? It is Gomez. I think he did crash out, didn't he? Now I remember, because well, it's been some.
Yeah, he was also caught up in that big mess on lap 22, 23.
Fair enough then. So Gomez then will be next out onto the racetrack as Cassidy just making his way through towards the end of the 2nd sector now. Then he was 9 thousandths down in the 1st sector there that we just saw there compared to Zolga. So let's see what his 2nd sector is like. And he's 2 tenths down in at the 2nd sector that time by. So let's see what his next sector is going to be like as he now makes his way towards the final 4 turns on the racetrack here on the streets of Long Beach as he now makes his way towards the final corner. Through the hairpin he goes, as towards the right there is the pit entrance. And Cassidy, where can he place his Meyer Shank racing car? Across the line will go to Venezuela, and he slots to 3rd, just behind Joao Pedro Kirby. As here comes Gabriel Gomez now then, who's just making his way towards the left-hander, which will take him back towards, I think, where the F1 circuit, near enough whereabouts joined up, of course. Obviously, this track got shortened years later after F1 came to visit, so to the track that we know it to be today. As Gomez now then just makes his way towards the final few turns on the racetrack, as he'll be starting his lap quite soon in the Andretti car. He has had a pretty good season, of course, in the Andretti, but I think it's safe to say that Peter has so far had the edge on him so far, Dennis.
Yep, it is very true indeed so far. Wait, let me check the standings when they load up. God damn it. But Peter currently is in P2, which is very good for him, but Gomez had some good moments, including the 2nd place at Road America. But then, yeah, as he said last time out, where he was involved in that multi-car crash. Yeah, hopefully he can for himself can pick up his good form again.
We're hoping so indeed, and hopefully we don't have a similar thing here at Long Beach. He's currently nearly 2 tenths up on Zolga in the second sector, which given the car he's in, you would expect him to be that quick. But whether he can keep it up, though, and not make any mistakes is another question. As Gomez now then coming around the final few turns on the racetrack. Let's see if Gomez can go to the top of the timing sheets and dethrone Balint Zolga now then, as Gomez is now going to cross the line in the Andretti. Does he go fastest? And he does. He, in fact, loses time in the last sector, in fact, and he's only 81 thousandths up on Zolga overall in that third sector. So, yeah, that's... Apps indeed, yes. So because he was up nearly 2 tenths in that second sector, and then he just seemed to lose it. As Yuri's projected, he may have lost it all at that final corner. Anyway, here is Barcisz Kloss. Meanwhile, of course, another man who was caught up in the pile-up, and it's fair to say he was the biggest loser out of all them pile-ups days. Because we talked about how lucky Bruno was to get in the victory. Because it's fair to say that Kloss had some very good pace at Laguna Seca, so much so that you could argue he probably should have won at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, probably he should have won there, but as said, he was very unlucky to be caught up as well. So he was on course to winning. At the time, I think he was in P2, but the guy who was at the time in front of him, which I don't know actually was, but for him, for Klaus, it was a big shame, and he is up on the first sector on Gomez.
He's up by a tenth in the first sector as the Penske continues to show its very strong pace this season. Of course, they were using Chevy engines, of course, during the Indy 500, but of course in this they use Honda engines, of course, clearly going for something different during that 500 race. Of course, it was the last 500 race, of course, as Kloss is really up in the second sector, nearly 4 tenths up on Gomez in that second sector. So as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, this should be a very, very good competitive lap for Barcisz Kloss. Let's see what he can do now then, as he now approaches the final corner where we believe that Gomez made his mistake, as now he comes down the straight now. Then Kloss, across the line he will go. Can he go to the top of the timing sheets? And he can by 7 tenths of a second. A 1 minute 4.101. So it just shows how much Gomez's mistake in the final corner really affected him there. Speaking of Barcisz's, the next one on track is Barcisz Bracchi in the Viper car now then. And Bracchi has been, when you compare the two Viper cars, he's been he's had more luck on his side than what Yuri Gabriel has had. I think, of course, he has been the one to get points for Viper this season. Of course, got 1 point at the second race of the season, which came at the Circuit of the Americas. Of course, Mana picked up points last time out in Laguna Seca, thanks to the race basically being a race of attrition. The next person on track will be Jordan Howell in the McLaren. Of course, we'll talk about him when he comes out onto the track, because he was looking quite strong at Laguna Seca before he made a driver error. So, Bracchi now, then let's see what his first sector is like. I'm not expecting it to be up on Kloss, and he's 3 tenths down in the first sector. Overall, his teammate is 2.3 seconds off of Kloss, so let's see what he's like in the next 2 sectors. But yeah, and the battle between the Manas and the Vipers so far, of course, I think so far every team has now scored a point this season as a result of Mana picking up, I think it was 2 points at Laguna Seca due to the fact that it was a race full of attrition.
1 point.
It was 1 point, okay, fair enough. But I think they are ahead of Viper on a countback, if I'm not mistaken. So
yep.
That's why Viper are currently down in last.
Yeah, because the thing is, Mana has one thing that Viper doesn't have: consistency. Apart from Kota, Viper had a double retirement all the time. So they had 6 retirements already, but Mana has not a single one so far as Bracchi goes into P6.
He qualifies his teammate Yuri Gabriel. Next up on track is Jordan Howell in the McLaren Chevrolet, and we've talked about a little bit earlier, could they potentially be switching to BMW power next season, given the partnership that McLaren will be having in the top class with the German manufacturer, and given that BMW, of course, are in this series via the Pyramid Racing team, because currently, so far, McLaren have Chevy engines. But for Jordan Howell last time out, he was looking particularly strong at Laguna Seca, but I think it's safe to say that he maybe just got a little bit too carried away, because he obviously crashed out in that race by his own accord, Dennis.
I think before that he had a problem where he was running a good position. So after that he was very angry, I can presume. Then he pushed the car too much and crashed. But yeah, so far for Howell, it's been an awful season again, I have to say. Because in every tier so far he has been in, or series, he has not been very good so far, but he desperately need to turn it around here.
I think it's safe to say he has improved a bit this season. I think it's fair to say. I don't think he's been as worse as what the previous 2 seasons have suggested, but still, I think there is a lot of things he can still improve on, especially with controlling his anger in the cockpit, as we saw last time out in Laguna Seca when he had that mechanical failure when he was running in a very good position. So, yeah, a lot of things to work on. But anyway, here is Jordan Howell now then in the McLaren. He was 5 tenths down on Kloss in the second sector there as he now rounds the final turn and onto the pit straight now then he will go. Let's see where he can place his McLaren across the line. Will go Howell, and he goes into 4th position, slots behind Zolga, and just in front of Joao Pedro Kirby. As we now look at TJ Papero in the Meyer Shank racing car, and we alluded to it a little bit earlier on, Dennis. It's fair to say he's had a very good rookie season. So far, it's fair to say he's had the measure of Thomas Cassidy this season.
Yep, indeed. That also reflected on the championship position. He is in P14 with 4 points. Just ahead of his teammate who is in P50 with 2 points. But so far for Papeo, he only either scored points one time or he retired. So he has 3 retirements so far. But
Yes,
the one time he finished, he got good points. But still, he has done a good job so far.
Next up on track will be Rubino Gonzalez in the Ferrari, and he was also one of the guys who was involved in one of the crashes that happened at the corner before the corkscrew. As Papero finds himself 3 tenths down on Kloss in the first sector. So not exactly a very strong first sector there for the British driver as he now makes his way towards the 5th to last corner on the racetrack, which rejoins right at the part where the Formula 1 track was, because straight in front there, just before he turned right, that's actually where the Formula 1 cars came from as well. They went downhill before they got to this section. Papero, 1.1 seconds down in the middle sector, so I think that's roughly quicker, I think, than Bracchi, because I think Bracchi was 1.2 seconds off in the middle sector, but so far he's looking like he's going to be on a slower lap compared to Thomas Cassidy, as he's now about to cross the line in the Meyer Shank racing car, and he slots into 7th. So yeah, Cassidy able to qualifying this time by 4 tenths of a second. As here is Rubino Gonzalez in the Ferrari, and well, obviously he was one of the guys who was involved in that crash that happened, one of the 2 crashes that happened at the corner before the corkscrew. I think he was one of the guys that actually rolled over at that point as well.
He
was indeed. So Gonzalez now then just rounds the final corner now then, as Gonzalez is now going to cross the line to start his lap. As next up on track will be Kim Sung-min in the Manor, and I think the next one is actually going to be the first of the finishes, if I'm not mistaken, Dennis.
Yep, let me check that quick.
Gonzalez will be around the first sector pretty soon now then, and he finds himself 2 tenths down on Kloss in the first sector, so not a very strong first sector for the Ferrari there, and so far not looking to be on a good lap at the moment.
Not really. Yeah, the next guy up, Kim Sung-min, is actually the first or the last finisher of the last race. So yeah, as I said, many retirements last time out due to chaos.
It was quite chaotic indeed. In total, there was only 12 finishes the Laguna race a few weeks ago. Anyway, 6 tenths down in the middle sector for Gonzalez, so he seems to have redeemed it a little bit in that middle sector. So I think he could slot himself in between Zolga and Howell here, or maybe just behind them. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe he could slot just in front of them, but I don't think he's going to be quicker than Gomez, that's for sure. But he could prove me wrong, as he now crosses the line and he slots to 6th.
He's even slower than Kirby.
So he seems to have lost a lot in that last sector. So only P6 that time by for Rubino Gonzalez, as Kloss is still exactly 7 tenths ahead of the next nearest driver, which is, of course, Gabriel Gomez. As here comes Kim Sung-min in the Manor now then, as he'll be... this is obviously the first of the 12 finishes of the Laguna Seca race a few weeks ago, and he'll be looking to see if he can try and have a good session. So far, the Vipers have already set a time, of course. Gabriel currently last at the moment, 2.3 seconds off of Kloss. It'll be interested to see where the Martin is filled in compared to the Vipers, as Min is now going to start his lap now. Then, as next up onto the racetrack will be Sam Thompson, I believe that is, in the Ferrari, who had a little bit of a mixed bag at Laguna Seca, it's fair to say, but at least he did finish the race, albeit out of the points. So, anyways, now Min is now coming up towards the end of the first sector now then, and he's 2 tenths down in that first sector. In fact, it's roughly similar to Gonzalez's first sector, in fact, but I think Gonzalez was able to find quite a lot of time in the middle sector. So let's see what the Manor can do in this middle sector now then, as Kim Sung-min now then makes his way through the left-hander now then before approaching the right-hander, which rejoins right to where the Formula 1 track went. And here comes the second sector now then, and he finds himself 9 tenths down in the middle sector. So I think it's safe to assume that he's going quicker than both the Vipers in the middle sector now then. So Manor once again proving that they seem to be doing that.
Judge Meyer Shanks.
Yes, so here comes Min now then, as he now makes his way through the final turn. Let's see where he can place his Manor now then, as the Korean driver now then is going to cross the line, and he goes into 8th, so he actually splits the two Meyershanks like you predicted there, Dennis. So considering he's in a Manor, not bad at all, as here is Sam Thompson.
Yep, Sam Thompson also involved in the first crash with Zolga. He was the guy who collided with Zolga. He lost his front wing and he dropped down the order. I think he had also some more problems, but yeah, for him it was a very unfortunate crash last time out in Laguna Seca. But let's see how we do it this lap.
At least he did finish there, albeit out of the points. But
Yep.
Thompson will start his knack, as next up on track will be Francesca La Rosa, who actually scored points for Manor last time out, who'll be next on track after Thompson. So we saw Gonzalez this time. He was 1.1 seconds off of Kloss overall. So let's see what that's like for Thompson this time by in the second Ferrari. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to Kloss, and 2 tenths down in the first sector. I think that is quicker than Rubino, but still not ideal for the Ferrari driver. But we'll see what his middle sector is like compared to Gonzalez. Because if I remember correctly, Gonzalez was actually 6 tenths down on Kloss in the middle sector. So we'll see what that is like with Thompson as he now approaches the end of the second sector. The sector times, because of how short the track is, it comes in quite quickly, it must be said. And he's 5 tenths down in the middle sector. So I do believe that Thompson is going quicker than Gonzalez so far on this lap. Where he'll place himself, I'd say maybe in front of Kirby if the last sector from Gonzalez is anything to go by, from the rate that the times deplete from sector by sector. So I think he could slot in between Hal, Kirby, or maybe but we'll see. In fact, he goes way quicker than that. He goes into third, in fact, slots in front of Zolga. So he found quite a lot of time in that last sector, and he slots to third just behind Gomez, in fact, as it's only 8 thousandths between him. But here is Francesca La Rosa, and as we alluded to a little bit earlier, Dennis, he scored Manor's first points of the season, albeit via a little bit of luck, it's fair to say, because of all of the chaos that happened at Laguna Seca, but he was there to capitalise.
Yeah, if you get lucky, you have to take it. Yeah, they did it, and of course with that point, Manor is now a set ahead of Viper in the team standings because of that reliability, because they did finish every single race with both cars, which is quite impressive as he starts his lap.
Indeed, so Frederick Soper will be next out on track for Carlin, as now heading down towards turn 2 will come at Francesca La Rosa, and we'll see what his time is like compared to Min, who currently lies in life, splitting the two Meyershank racing cars. Let's see if Manor's pace is near enough to the Meyershanks on this one. 4 tenths down, in fact, in the first sector. Not the best.
It's a bit slower than his teammate.
Yeah, I was just about to say that there. It does appear like he's not had a stronger first sector compared to Min there. So let's see what his second sector is like as he now makes his way through into the section of corners now then. Approaching the end of the second sector now then will come the Italian of Francesca La Rosa, and he finds himself 1.4 down. So yeah, this is not the best of laps, and I think he's going to end up slotting. I think he'll maybe get in front of the Vipers, but I think he's not going to get himself in between the two Meyershanks, that's for sure, as he now makes his way through into the final few turns now then. Will come Francesca La Rosa now then in the Manor as he comes down the straight. Where is he going to place it? Across the line will come La Rosa, and he goes into 12th position as he's in fact a lot slower than I expected there. In fact, he only splits the two Vipers, and he's only 46 thousandths quicker than Yuri Gable there. So not a very good lap there, Dennis.
Not really, but at least he's not last, which is something. Here's Frederick Soper warming up for his lap.
Frederick Soper on track. Fair to say that Carlin have had a pretty decent season this season with their lineup of Soper and Mutka. And Soper has been quite impressive, and at times Mutka has also looked pretty impressive. So they'll be looking to see if they can continue that here at Long Beach, as Soper now then will start his lap. As next up on track will be Toby Holloway in the Peugeot, the first of the two Peugeots. In fact, Peugeot last time out at Laguna Seca got a double points finish, so pretty good for them indeed. I think Alex Eric Lucien got his first ever points as well at Laguna Seca, so a plus for him there. As Soper finds himself 1/10 down on Kloss, his fellow compatriot there in the first sector. So we'll have to see what his second sector is going to be like. Not a too bad first sector there, but in fact, I'd argue he's going a bit quicker, in fact, than the two Ferraris in that first sector. So pretty good there for Frederick Soper. He now approaches the end of the second sector. And he's 4/10 down in the second sector that time by Frederick Soper.
Thompson.
Yeah, he's going quicker than Thompson. So I think he could slot him in front of the two Ferraris. And in fact, he could get himself up into maybe even second place. But then again, let's not forget, Thompson's third sector was very strong. So we'll have to wait and see what that's like for Soper as he now comes down the straight, and Frederick Soper across the line goes into sixth. So yeah, as expected, Thompson's final sector really helping him stay in front of Soper there. But at least Soper has got in front of one Ferrari as he slots into sixth place. Here is Toby Holloway in the Peugeot now. And as mentioned earlier, Dennis, a double points finish for Peugeot.
Yep, they had a very good race. Last time out, they scored 10 points in Laguna Seca, which is very important for their points account. They're currently in P7. The standings even ahead of McLaren. Yeah.
Peugeot doing a very good job, it is fair to say, and ahead of McLaren, who it's fair to say have not had the season that they were expecting in World ChampCar, and so they'll be looking to see if they can improve on that. As Holloway now then starts his lap, as next up on the track will be his teammate Alex Eric Lucien, of course. So Holloway now then is now approaching turn 2 on the racetrack in the silver and green Peugeot. As now he makes his way through turns 2 and 3, as he'll soon be approaching the end of sector 1, just after this roundabout, which has got a flower pot there, although I don't think it's modelled into Grand Prix 4, I don't think, which I guess is a good thing, because you don't want to kill those beautiful flowers that are there at the roundabout. But anyway, 2/10 down in the first sector. That is actually slower, I think, than Soper's first sector. So let's see what it's like in the next two sectors then for Toby Holloway, as he now approaches the end of sector 2 now then, as he rounds the right-hander. Let's see what his second sector is going to be like, and he's 5/10 down in that second sector. So I think Soper is only just quicker than Holloway in that middle sector, but I think it is pretty close between them as he now approaches the right-hander. In fact, I think it was 4/10 actually in the middle sector for Soper, but I could be wrong there. But anyway, let's see where Holloway places his Peugeot as he just comes out of the final turn and onto the pit straight he goes, and Holloway crosses the line. And where does he go? He goes into 7th place, slots just behind Frederick Soper and gets in front of Kirby. So Kirby not having the best of qualifying so far. As here is Alex Eric Lucien in the second of the two Peugeots, and he got, as we mentioned earlier, then it's his first points last time out at Laguna Seca, I believe.
It was 6 big points for him after having P11 in the first race and retirement and P13. Yeah, he was very happy about that. Yeah, let's see what he can do here.
Indeed so, as he now approaches the final few turns on the racetrack, as he will be starting his lap very soon now then, as he goes around the final turn and onto the pit straight now then he will go, as Alex Eric Lucien starts his lap now then, which he does now. And next up on track will be Florian Volker in the McLaren, and who actually had a pretty decent race last time out at Laguna Seca after what's been quite a tricky season for the 5-time top class champion. And Lucien now then is approaching the end of the first sector, and he's 1/10 down in that first sector, so it's safe to assume he's going way quicker than Toby Holloway so far, Dennis.
Indeed, but it could also be that his cars mostly set up better for the would say low speed parts maybe. But let's see what he can do in the second sector.
And he's 4/10 down in that second sector, so he's still going quicker so far Dan Holloway. I would say in third because that was around the time that Thompson did. But again, let's not forget Thompson's last sector was quite rapid. So I would say he could slot either in front of Soper or just behind him. Let's see. Lucien on a very good lap here. The Frenchman comes down the pit straight and across the line will come Alex-Eric Lucien. And he goes into fourth. So he actually slots in front of Soper there. Very good time there for Lucien. A very good effort there indeed. As here is Florian Volker now in the second of the two McLarens now then. And a pretty decent showing last time out at Laguna Seca, Dennis, after what has been so far quite a tricky start to the season for him.
Yeah, indeed. For him, it was finally the result he was hoping for. But I think it was actually P5 when he got involved in that collision with Gonzalez, where he spun. But luckily he could continue finish the race in P6. It's got eight good points. Yeah.
Next up on track will be Simon Mutka in the Carlin, who finished fifth place last time out at Laguna Seca. Let's see what Volker's first sector is like. 1/10 down in the first sector, so it's going slightly quicker than Lucien in that first sector. So far, looking to be on a very decent lap so far. The McLaren's looking pretty decent around here on the streets of Long Beach, as now Volker comes towards the left-hander. Now, let's not forget as well, of course, I forgot to mention as well, this is the final race in the Americas for the World ChampCar Series this season, because after this race, specifically this coming weekend, of course, I would say next weekend, but because it is happening on a Monday, it's this coming weekend during the double weekend with Formula E. They're actually going abroad because they'll be heading off to Silverstone next time out with World Champ Car. So pretty exciting stuff. The remaining 7 races taking place outside of the Americas. But anyway, Volker just comes out of the final turn now. Then let's see what the Arrow McLaren driver can do. And Volker crosses the line and he goes to the second. What a time from him there. Very good last sector for Volker. He gets himself in front of Gabriel Gomez. So he's got himself at least a very good starting position at the moment. Whether he can stay that high up, we'll have to wait and see. But a very good effort from Volker, Dennis.
Yep, indeed. That is very good for the 5-time top class champion. Yeah, we can only say that it was a very great lap.
Indeed. As now here comes Mutka, who just rounds the final turn and onto the pit straight. He will go now then to start his lap. His teammate Soper is currently in fact, where is Soper? He's currently in 8th at the moment, because I have to remember there is 2 drivers with the SZO as their prefix, and one of them's got P in it for Soper, and Soper's currently in 8th. Next up will be Igor Peter in the Andretti, who'll be next out onto the track, and he really needs to try and recover, of course, given that Bruno de Bauer appears to be getting away a little bit in the Drivers' Championship. 1/10 down in the first sector, nearly 2/10 from Mutka, so it's safe to say he's not going quicker than Volker in the first sector, but I do think he is going a tad bit quicker than Soper, of course. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, I think I might actually be wrong on that, but we'll see. Anyway, Mutka now then comes up towards the end of the second sector now then in the second of the 2 Carlins who are doing a lap as he now approaches the end of the second sector, and he's 6/10 down. So yeah, I think he is going quicker, slower than Soper there. So maybe not the best of laps from Mutka, but let's see as he now approaches the final few turns on the racetrack now then. Mutka towards the final corner and onto the pit straight now then he will go. And Simon Mutka is now going to cross the line. Where can he place his car? He goes into 10th position. So he actually pushes Kirby now outside of that top 10. So not a very good qualifying session for Kirby so far. And we'll have to wait and see what Fitzwater can do, who'll be coming out, I think, after Peter. But speaking of which, here is Igor Peter. And as mentioned earlier, Dennis, given that the run of form that Bruno de Bauer is on, he really needs to try and make a fight back in this championship.
Yep, indeed. I have to say also the results for Peter are quite interesting because he won the first race, finished second in the second one, finished third in the third race, and finished fourth in the fourth race last time out. So that's very interesting indeed. Hopefully he can recover to be fighting for the win.
Yeah, or he may end up finishing 5th to keep up that pattern, Dennis. So anyway, Fitzwater will be next out on track, and Fitzwater, of course, after what has been a lock-up for Peter there from there, as you was just notified us, and as a result, his first sector is a mess here, Dennis.
Yeah, he's feeling the pressure, and he cracked sadly under it.
Yeah,
he can recover.
We were just alluding to the fact that he needs to really pick it up, given the run of form that Bruno de Bauer is on. And that's not the way. And that's not how you do it via locking up. Let's see what his second sector is like. Let's see if he can recover anything in that second sector. 4 attempts down in the second sector. And, well, I think he's going to end up in quite a lowly position at the moment. I think he'll still be in the top 10, but not in the position that he was expecting to be. So let's see where he can place his Halfords Andretti now then. As he rounds the final turn and onto the pit straight now, then we'll go the Brazilian. And across the line, we'll go Igor Peter, and well, he actually recovered it. It goes into second. So
I expected it, to be honest.
You did it. You actually expected it. Well, I thought because given that Volker actually did a better second sector, yeah, a bit interesting there. But anyway, here is Zachary Fitzwater in the Chip Ganassi racing car, and well, it's safe to say that he finally got some good luck last time out in Laguna Seca, Dennis, because he finally got a podium.
Yeah, finally, because he is well known as a guy who is one of the most unlucky guys in the OC as a whole. Yeah, so before that, his season was also not good with 0 points, but finally he got his first points and with it his first podium. Hopefully he can build on that.
Indeed so, as Fitzwater now then makes his way through the first few turns on the racetrack, as he will now go around this roundabout, and let's see what his first sector is like. His teammate didn't have the best of laps, and it looks like Fitzwater is going even quicker than Kirby because he's only 61 thousandths off of Kloss in the first sector, so he could try and get second place here if he can keep this up, but it depends on if he can keep it up, of course, and not make any mistakes, as he now rounds the left-handers. He'll now be approaching the end of the second sector. So let's see what his second sector is like compared to Barch's Kloss, as let's see, and it's 2 attempts down in the second sector. So I think he might slot the car into second place here. It depends on how he hooks up the final corner, of course, because Peter's final sector, you could say, is arguably just as good as Thompson's last sector from a little bit earlier on. But let's see what he can do now then. Around the final corner and onto the pit straight will come the Australian, and across the line now then will go Fitzwater. Can he get onto the front row? He can. He goes into second, 4 attempts off of Barch's Kloss. A very good effort there for Fitzwater, and Kirby, well, way off his teammate, safe to say. His next up is Nicholas Zorbach, who has had a very good season, it's fair to say, Dennis, after a lot of tricky seasons from past seasons, of course, and last time out got his first podium.
Yep, indeed. He is also a bit of a streak. He finished every race in the points, and he's so far breaking the Brazilian dominance in the championship standings, because I think it was after the second race where we had the Brazilian 1, 2, 3, or even 4. The Zorbach is currently P3, which is a very good effort for him. Yeah.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is, and he'll be looking to have another good weekend here at Long Beach. His first sector, let's see, 65 thousandths off of Kloss in the first sector, so a little bit similar with Fitzwater. Zorbach also looking at a very good lap here as well, but so far nobody's been able to dethrone Kloss for quite a while in this session. So at the moment, because next up will be Bruno de Bauer, he'll be the last car on the racetrack. It does look like at the moment, unless Zorbach can find some time in these next 2 sectors, a Team Penske car will be on pole position, but it will then be a question of which Penske car will be on pole. 3 attempts down in the second sector there, and I think he is a bit slower than Fitzwater, so but I think he has been quicker than most of the guys that you can see on the timing tower. So I think as long as he hooks it up quite well in the last corner, he could get into third position. But let's see, and potentially a second row start as Zorbach comes down the pit straight now then in the BMW Pyramid racing car. Across the line he will go, and he slots into third. So a very good lap there for Nicholas Zorbach. So that does mean a Penske will be on pole, but it'll be a question of which Penske will be on pole, because next up, here he is. It is the championship leader, Bruno de Barros, who has been on a run of form so far. 3 wins in the first 4 races. Could he potentially make it 4 wins out of 5? And could he potentially snatch pole off his teammate Barch's Kloss here?
Yeah, maybe he could. But as I said, his first race was, I think, a bit of a bit, I would not say a bit weaker, but the others were stronger there. But then he absolutely smashed everybody with 3 wins in a row. Let's see if he can attack for pole position against his teammate.
Indeed so, as he is the last car to do a lap, as he's now started his lap, as he now will make his way down towards the second corner on the racetrack, as the first sector will come pretty quickly now then. Through the left, then through the right, and then down towards the roundabout now then we go. Through the right-hander. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to Barch's Kloss, and he's 3 thousandths up in the first sector, so nothing between the 2 Penskes at this point in time, as he now makes his way around the right-hander and now approaching the left-hander on the racetrack before heading towards the end of the second sector. So let's see what his second sector is like compared to Kloss, because there's nothing between them in that first sector. Only 3 thousandths separating them, with De Bauer's currently up in the first sector. Let's see what his second sector is like as he now approaches the end of the second sector, and he's down now on Kloss in the second sector by 44 thousandths of a second. But we could be looking at a Penske front row. You could be looking at a Penske front row lockout here, so it is pretty close. Which Penske is going to end up on pole position? Would it be Kloss or would it be De Bauer? He now rounds the final corner, and onto the pit straight now then will go the championship leader, Bruno De Bauer, down the pit straight and across the line. He will now go. Can De Bauer snatch pole off of Kloss? He can, by 72 thousandths of a second. And it is Bruno De Bauer who is on pole position for the streets of Long Beach. He found time in the last sector and he snatches pole off Barcia's Kloss. It is a Penske front row lockout, but it is Bruno De Bauer on pole position. So let's have a look at the grid order for anybody who has just joined us. It's Bruno De Bauer on pole, Barcia's Kloss in second, Fitzwater third, with Zorbach in fourth. Then it is Igor Peter in fifth, Florian Volker, a very good effort in sixth, with Gabriel Gomez seventh, Sam Thompson in eighth, Alex Eric Lucien in ninth, with Balenciaga in 10th, Jordan Howell in 11th, and you can do the rest, Dennis.
Okay, so Frederick Sobers in P12, Toby Holloway in P13, Simon Mutka 14th, JP Covey only P15, and Rubino Gonzalez only P16. Bad qualifying from those two. Thomas Cassidy is in P17 with Kim Sung Min with a good effort in P18. DJ Papiro in P19 ahead of Bartos Bucky in P20. On the final row, we will have Francesco La Rosa and Yuri Gabriel.
Yep, indeed. Now, we will be having the race here on this stream as well, so we're just going to take a brief pause while Yuri sorts out the grid, of course, because we obviously have a different mistake rate for qualifying. So just bear with us, guys, and then we'll get the race on the way. But in the meantime, I'm going to get the tweet sorted out for the pole man, Bruno De Bauer. So apologies if I go a little bit silent for the moment, guys, but you will hear my voice again in just a bit.
Yeah, this is also the second pole for Bruno De Bauer. Or second pole in a row. He equaled Peter for the most poles this season with 2. Yeah, it's very interesting between those two qualifying.
Indeed, so indeed. But again, Bruno De Bauer looking on form yet again. Could he potentially make it 4 wins out of 5? It just seems like so far nobody's been able to stop De Bauer this season. And, well, could his streak of victories continue or not? That's going to be very, very interesting.
Also, another thing that I noticed during qualifying is this weekend will be absolutely stacked as hell, because we have Formula E and World ChampCar set, and also DTM and Wheel F1. That will be a hell of content.
Is indeed, and of course we do have the entrance series this week as well, which is starting this Wednesday with both qualifying and the race. And that should be very interesting as well around the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. And it'd be interesting to see what the cars look like as well. I think I've got a little bit of an indication of what the cars will look like, but I'll wait till when the stream starts on Wednesday to find that one out. So, very exciting times there.
Yeah, indeed. I'm very hyped for the entrance series, to be honest.
It'll be interesting indeed, especially given that there's no teams in this and the cars are all equal, so we could expect some very, very close racing in that series.
Yeah.
Given that there's only 5 races, there's not really much chance to make a mistake in that as well. It's on for 5 consecutive weeks.
Yep.
Do you believe as well, if I'm not mistaken, the point system is going to be the same as what the top class is? So, from what I remember anyway, from the original sign-up video. So that's that really. So anyway, just getting the tweet sorted out. So again, I apologize if I go a little bit silent. So just bear with us, guys. The race will start in just a little bit. We just need Yuri to sort out the grid, because of course we use a different mistake rate for both qualifying and the race, but we will get underway quite soon, I assure you.
And I will get something to drink.
Right, fair enough. I then just got the tweet sorted out there. I was just quickly double checking to see if there was any grid penalties, and I don't think there is. So yeah, I just thought I'd make clear of that. So no grid penalties to worry about there. So yeah. So anyway, as we wait for the races to the race to get underway, I should say. In the meantime, guys, you can let us know your prediction on who you believe is going to win the race. And it wouldn't surprise me if anybody puts Bruno de Bauer down in the stream chat as a potential winner for this race, because he has been, as we've mentioned a few times during the qualifying, in form. So it will be very, very interesting indeed. And of course, it is a Penske front row lockout. Of course, let's not forget for the races as well, it is a mandatory 2-stop race. So pretty sure Yuri will let us know in the stream chat where we should expect the pit stops to happen. Not in the stream chat, the Discord chat that we're in. Sorry, I got those two things mixed up. So anyway, as I think Dennis has just gone to get a drink for the moment. So
I'm back here already.
You're already back. So yeah. So do you think Bruno is possibly the favourite to win this race, Dennis, or do you think somebody can actually stop him today?
I think Bruno de Bauer is actually the favorite, but still lot of things.
This information, go on then. Okay. Starting. So the information that we've been given: 50-lap race. Obviously a mandatory 2-stop as we know in this series. So the first pit stops you should expect between lap 10 to 20, and the second one between lap 30 to 40. So bear that one in mind. It could be a very short race as well, as Yuri has just alluded to us before we went on live on air. Given how short the track is, we could be looking at probably one of the shortest races of the season. So we'll have to wait and see on that one, really. It kind of also depends, really, on the weather situation. Because, of course, let's not forget, there was rain predicted for qualifying, but it was only after the session came to an end. So whether that could be an omen for the race, we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, so it's going to be quite interesting to see if the weather does play out. Then it could make things quite interesting, especially on a street circuit like the streets of Long Beach. So anyway, we've got the stream back up on our screens. And unless my Discord's decided to play up with me again, hang on. It was briefly playing up with me. For some reason today, Discord and my internet are just not playing ball today, it's safe to say. But anyway, we are now on the grid. I think we'll do 4x4, Dennis, as per usual, like we do with Rob. So for anybody who missed qualifying, here is your grid then. It is Bruno de Bauer on pole position with Bartosz Kloss in second. Zachary Fitzwater will start in third with Nicolas Zorbach in fourth.
Igor Peters in P5 with Florian Walker in P6. Gabriel Gomez is P7 and Sam Thompson will start the race from P8.
There is Alex Eric Lucien, who will start in 9th, with Balint Zolga completing the top 10 in the BMW, with Jordan Howe in 11th and Frederick Soper in 12th.
In P13, we have Toby Holloway. P14 is Simon Mutka. JP Kirby is in P15, and Rubino Gonzalez is only P16.
It is Thomas Cassidy, who will start in 17th, with Kim Sung-min in 18th. Then it is TJ Bapira, who will start in 19th, with Bartosz Gracki in 20th. On the back row of the grid, Dennis?
On the back row of the grid, we have Francesco La Rosa and Yuri Gabriel.
So let's see what the weather is like, and it is going to be a bone dry race. No rain expected for the race, so without further ado, let's get cracking here at the streets of Long Beach. Ignore the from there, we're not at Surface Paradise, we're not down under, we're in America. Now anyway, we need the lap counter, of course, that would really help us. There we go then. So, here we go. On the right hand side is Bruno de Bauer, on the left it is Bartosz Kloss. 50 laps of action coming your way here on the streets of Long Beach, as we're going to see who's going to get the jump into turn 2. As now the 5 lights come on. It is lights out, and away we go here on the streets of Long Beach. And it seems to be a good start for the front two. It looks like Kloss may have had a better start than de Bauer to come around the long right-hander. A very good start for Zorbach as Fitzwater. In fact, Fitzwater's trying to interject himself between the two Penskes. He backs out of the De Barros just holds on to the lead into the first corner. So far, it looks to be pretty clean so far, as De Barros still leads the way from Kloss in second, Fitzwater in third, Zorbach in fourth. So the top four remain the same from the grid positions as they now make their way up towards the turn at number 5 now. They're on the track, and it does seem like everybody has kept it clean so far, with Becerra bringing up the rear of the field. So it's not been a very good start for DJ Becerra, but the two Penske's starting to rump away, and De Barros already going a little bit defensive. It looks like Kloss might be starting to lap a little bit quicker than him at the moment, as meantime we've got the two Andretti's fighting for P5 there, as Peter was trying to fend off from Gomez, but it's De Barros who's leading the way from a Penske 1-2 as Fitzwater trying to keep back from Zorbach, but so far pretty clean so far, Dennis.
Yep, very clean indeed. That has been a good start for everybody. So clean start, but for some the start was not good, for including Volker going down to P9 as Kloss got wide a bit.
Do see some different lines around here at Long Beach, because I remember that in Formula E. But in the meantime, at the end of lap 1, De Barros leads, Kloss in second, followed by Fitzwater third, then it is Solbach in fourth, Peter in fifth, then it is Gomez sixth, Thompson up into seventh with Howe in eighth, but Howe looks like he wants to try and take the place on him into turn 1. Danny inside goes Jordan Howe, but Thompson defends the inside for the moment. It was worth a try from Jordan Howe, and in fact has actually got a good start as well. In fact, he's in front of Volker, who's not had the best of starts from 6th. He's down into 9th.
Joe cut off there again, sadly, but here's Fitzwater. Kloss trying to stay close to the back of his teammate. Papio locks up, but stays on track, who had a bad start. Down in last. It seems like Joe has a bigger issue now, which is a shame. Yeah, we will keep going. Yeah, so far, it's very close.
For some reason, my microphone cut out on me there, even though I was talking.
Ooh.
So anyway, as in fact, Gomez looking on the inside of Peter there, but it looks like Peter's just got enough traction to stay in front as we now make our way down towards the first few turns now there on the racetrack. As now Gomez has now come down towards that first corner now, and let's see what Gomez can do as he's down the inside but can't get the move done. Peter just holding on. Everybody just staying single file for the moment. But as I was saying, Dennis, before my microphone decided to cut off on me in there, the top 5 staying relatively the same at the moment. We just saw Kirby there just overtake for P15.
Yep, that was a good move from Kirby, but as I said, the top 5 stayed the same. Had all good starts. But the most important thing, everyone got away without any kind of damage.
Big lock up there for... No, that was a lock up there from Alex Eric Lucian, as he's currently under pressure from I can't remember who that was there, as the camera went pretty quickly. But meanwhile, we're riding on board with Nicholas Zorbach, who's putting Fitzwater under a bit of pressure now. They need to come towards the right-hander, and now coming up towards the final few turns on the racetrack. Looks like there's a bit of a gap forming between the two Penske cars at the moment, as they're now round the final turn now there on the racetrack, as Zorbach trying to take a little bit of a wider line through into there. As Gomez got the move done on Peter this time, though, again, it just seems Peter's just got enough traction to just stay in front for the time being, as they go side by side through the long swooping right hander. Meantime, Gonzalez has passed Holst for P13 now. Then for Holloway into 14. Vigo Holst is a very old driver for anybody who's just wondering there. He hasn't been in the service quite a while. So it looks like Kirby's going about to lock up into the first corner there. Looked like he had a little bit of a wobble through into there, but Mutka wasn't able to take full advantage there. As they now round the roundabout there, as they now make their way through these section of corners. But so far, it seems that there are some people overtaking me. It just seems that the people at the front of the moment struggling to overtake at this stage, Dennis.
Yeah, it seems like they all got good pace and they're defending very well so far. Yeah, for the attackers, it's not enough at the moment.
Indeed so, as they're now around the car park section, as I like to call it here at Long Beach, is now around the final turn we go. Kloss again deciding to take a wider line through into that final corner, see if he can get enough speed out of the turn, as meanwhile De Barros sets another fastest lap of 1 minute 5.350 at the moment, so he's currently holding on to the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. In the meantime, as we can see, the two McLarens currently squaring just behind Zolga, side by side with Lucien. Can he get back into the points as the Peugeot and the BMW go side by side into turn 1? Has he got the move done? I think he might just have the momentum into the first corner, and he does. Zolga up into 10th place, and back into the points he goes.
Yep, there he goes, back into points. Yeah, let's see if he can keep moving further ahead of some other people.
Meantime, we can see that Kloss is still trying to take some wider lines through into the corner there, but still able to pull a bit of a gap to the battle for third that's going on between Zorbach and Fitzwater. You could say maybe trying to play a little bit of a supporting role between the two Penskes. In the meantime, lots of battles going on in the midfield as Zorbach still not able to make the move. Try and find a way through on Fitzwater. He tries again into the right-hander, but it's not going to quite work out as they now make their way through the car park section and now into the final corner, both taking a similar line through into that final turn as the Bauer sets another fastest lap of the race. But can Zorbach get Fitzwater this time? He's right in the slipstream of the Australian now. He's going to try and have a look to see if he can make the move into turn 2. He just doesn't have the momentum at the moment. It seems the Honda might just have the legs on the BMW. Can try and outbrake him into turn 2. He's going to have a go. And finally, Zorbach has got the move done. Over to third place goes the German driver, and that's P3 for Nicholas Zorbach. Meantime, Peter, in fact, is still in front of Gomez at the moment. That still hasn't changed. He's still.
I think Zorga's in front of Volker.
Is he? Has Zorga got past Volker?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he has. He's up into 9th place. Up into P9 goes Balint Zorga in the BMW now then, so that's pushed Volker down a few more places now then, as his teammate Howell still trying to battle with Sam Thompson at the moment in this race, but he's also brought Balint Zorga into that battle as well that's going on. As meantime, Lucian will want a piece of Volker at the moment, so far in these early stages of the races, Volker clearly struggling. I wonder if he's got a heavy fuel load in his first stint.
Yeah, indeed. See, looking at Howell again. Yeah.
Yes,
oh, there's a yellow flag.
Got a yellow flag down at the corner, and it's Holloway.
Oh, Holloway.
Holloway's gone around to the right-hander. Has he been tagged, or is that a driver error from Toby Holloway? Let's see. He was going a little bit defensive from Joe Pedro Kirby.
Oh, it was contact.
It was contact there. It seemed like he cut back in front there of Joe Pedro Kirby. So I'd say that's a little bit clumsy there from Holloway, if I'm being totally honest, Dennis.
Yep, indeed. That was not very smart from Holloway, indeed. Moving under braking is always not good.
Oh, nearly close to contact there.
Whoa.
There was nearly close to contact there between Howell and Thompson. Luckily, it didn't end into blows as Volker looks like he's again trying to fend off from Alex Everett Lucian. But Holloway basically in the wars there, and think from his own little error there. As meantime, Kloss is starting to close back in onto Bruno de Bauers, because it did look like for a brief period Zorbach was starting to close back in, but now it seems that Kloss is starting to get the hammer down a bit, Dennis.
Yep, he's responding to the good pace of the BMW from Zorbach. Yeah. But he's still... And also I think that response, Bruno de Bauers picked up the pace even more. So we could see the top 3 going even further apart.
Oh, look! Oh,
there's contact, Zorga!
It's Zorga and Howell. I thought for a minute there it was a lock-up for Howell, but it looks like this contact that's been made there between Zorga and Howell. Maybe a bit of aggressive defending from Howell. Let's see.
Yep.
It looked like that Zorga was trying to go for a gap that didn't exist. I think Howell had the right to stay in front there, but it's cost Zorga dear there, and also Howell, because they've both been spun around there. I'm not sure if there'll be any penalty involved for that one. I'm not sure, but anyway, as they're now been sent to the back, as there goes. All right, fair enough. No penalties for this corner then, because it might be a bit of a Laguna Seca-esque corner from a few weeks ago, if you may remember. But anyway, it's dropped those two now down to the back of the field. As a result, both of them clearly pushing too hard, and it shows. And they've both basically ruined each other's races as a result.
Which is especially a shame for Zorga, because he was fighting his way back in front. Yeah, for him, he has to do it all over again. Now it's even more difficult because he's so far back.
Meanwhile, Lucian, unseen by the cameras, is now actually past Volker, but because of the collision that happened in front, Volker is still in the points, and as a result, it has lifted Rubino Gonzalez now into the points. So now both Ferraris find themselves into the top 10 position as they now approach that corner. He's got a flag this time down at turn 5. It looks like somebody may have binned it in the wall, and it's Zorga. And in fact, it's a mechanical failure. It's a suspension failure for Balint Zorga. So just after that collision, he now suffers a suspension failure. Maybe as a direct result from that collision. Who knows? And there it goes. It just pops up on the front left there. But that's race over for Balint Zorga.
Yep, that is a big shame for Zorga. Oh, Howell lost his front wing. Ooh.
He's caught the wheel there, so more drama between Zorga and Howell in this race. This time, not really Zorga's fault there, just the way
He almost lost it.
Yeah, he nearly lost it there from that collision. But again, Howell's race, just like with Zorga, has gone from bad to worse. And given how short this track is, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up a lap down, Dennis.
Yep, that is a good possibility. So yeah, seems like they both ruined each other's races. Especially, as I said before, big shame for Zorga.
Meanwhile, there's some side-by-side action going on here between TJ Papero and Yuri Gabriel at this point, as they're now around the flat-out right-hander, and I think Gabriel has got the move complete just as long. In fact, it looks like Papero is still going to stick with him into this corner, and Papero is just going to hold on for the moment. Wasn't able to do what Balint Zolga was able to do a little bit earlier on before his retiring, as Howell is now back into the pits to repair his front wing. A lap before, in fact, the pit stop window, so in a way, he could actually change his strategy a little bit at this point, Dennis. Meantime, we've got side-by-side action, in fact, going on between Soper and Kirby here, as Kirby was trying to get 11th place off of Soper, but now he's going to try and flick it back to the inside, going into this right-hander there, but it looks like Soper is just going to stay in front for the moment there, but a big battle going on between these two, as Gomez has actually passed Peter, unseen by the cameras. He's now up into 5th place, as he's now starting to close in on Fitzwater.
Yep, that was unseen by the cameras. I think that was a smart move from Gomez.
As
now he can.
Sorry to butt in there, Dennis. The pit stop stage are now underway, as it seems that both... a big look up there for Fitzwater. Pause for a minute, but luckily he just kept that one out of the wall there, but now it's putting prey to both the Andretti cars there. Very lucky to keep it out of the wall there, Dennis.
Yep, it was very lucky. A very lucky escape for Fitzwater. That's very close to hitting the wall, but he avoided it and he stays in P4. But he's could now be under huge attacks from Gomez.
As I was saying before that mistake happened, Thompson is coming in this lap, as is Alex Eric Lucian. So two people coming in at the point where the first round of pit stops will get underway. As mentioned earlier, the first round of pit stops coming between lap 10 to 20 and the second stop's lap 30 to 40. So bear in mind that one, as Gomez is now trying to put Fitzwater under a lot of pressure here, as he's also dragging his teammate Peter into this as well, as they now make their way towards the car park section of the track. Through the right-hander we go, as they now make their way through into the final few turns on the racetrack now. Then, as he's now going to approach the final corner, taking a wider line in, probably trying to get a bit more speed towards Fitzwater down the straight, as Thompson now comes into the pits for his mandatory pit stop there, as does Alec Lucian. So the pit stops are now officially underway, Dennis, as we're not counting the one with Jordan, who had to come in for repairs, as now the two mechanics get to work. And I do like this camera angle here at Long Beach, because it means that you don't need to go on board with the drivers, really, because of the way the camera works. We can just see down at the pit lane as one of the Vipers is also coming in. That is Barchis Bracky, who comes into the pit lane now then, as Lucian is finished his pit stop. So luckily both Thompson and Lucian don't get held up there. As now look at this, Zorbach is all over the back of Klaas. He's been closing in for quite a bit, and now Zorbach wants to split the two Penskes if he can.
Yeah, hopefully for him it will be the ambition to make the move past, but actually we don't know when they have to bid.
It could really come down. It could really come down to strategy. At this point, it's both taking similar line through into the corner, although it does look like that Zorbach may have carried a little bit more speed on the exit there, and it's lost him a bit of time to Klaas as a result, as Klaas is still trying to gain onto to DeBauer to gap 1.8 seconds between the pair. A bit of side-by-side action going on there between Kim Sung-min and Yuri Gabriel. Also, the rivalry between the Vipers and the Manas continues. Gonzalez, meanwhile, in the Ferrari, is now coming to the pit, so he's the next to make his first of two mandatory pit stops in this race. So is Thomas Cassidy. He's also into the pits as well. So a couple of people in the pits, but Gonzalez is in. Is he going to get held up by the Meyer Shank? He won't, because he's still being served at the moment. So he shouldn't have any issues with being held up, as he's now finished his pit stop on 11.2 second stop. Not exactly the quickest we've seen in this. Is meanwhile, look at this. These two are still continuing to fight for second place now, as they now make their way through the right end. In fact, Zorbach is coming in this lap, in fact. So if you can't get him on the track, you'll have to try and get him in the pits. He's actually going to try and have a look on the inside into this right-hander. Try and keep it clean.
Please don't crash.
Yep, as they've kept it clean, but you can look at this, the pair of them at the same time, slowly starting to reel in on Bruno DeBauer, so this could be interesting for the pits. As you can see, Zorbach going to the inside, because he's actually now in the pits. So into the pits comes the German, as he looks to try and jump Klaas if he can now then, as he will now peel into his box.
Yep, there he goes, into his box.
Peter, both Andretti, as unseen by the cameras, in fact, Gomez has actually passed Fitzwater on the track, as he had a Z somewhere because of his first name. But now Peter is now trying to have a go at Fitzwater himself into turn 2, but Fitzwater shuts the door through into there. But unseen by the cameras, Gomez has actually now got past Fitzwater.
Yep, I think it's a trend that Gomez makes the moves when it isn't seen by the cameras, which is very interesting.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting trend indeed. But Zorbach, after his pit stop, he rejoins in 10th place. As Kim Sung Min has come into the pits for Manor. As he's left the door wide open there as Fitzwater. He must be struggling on his stint because now Peter trying to find a way through around the outside, through into this right hand. He's going to try and stick around the outside, but Fitzwater closes the door there as they now make their way towards the car park section now. Then Peter trying to have a look to the inside if he can. It's getting very close. Can he try and hang around the outside? He can't quite get the move done there, and he's just going to hang back for the moment. But the Andretti really putting Fitzwater under a lot of pressure at this point.
Yeah, indeed. Fitzwater's struggling a lot with his tires, it seems. Because early on he had that lockup. Huge
Look
one
at
where he almost got the wall.
I was just about to say, look at the momentum he's got, but Fitzwater closing the door again. Instead of doing
Go
his going
back.
flag, and it's Holloway
Holloway
Holloway again in the wars at that corner. It seems like he's really just not having a good day of it today, Dennis.
No, not really. It's the second time also at that place where he spun. Papio did go off, but he kept it pointed straight. So yeah, but Holloway lost even more seconds as there was a guy pitting.
Another lock up for Fitzwater. He's been locking up quite a bit in this stint, Dennis. He's really struggling on those tyres.
Yep, indeed. He has to pit as soon as possible to get rid of these tires because I think they are completely going off the cliff.
Speaking of pit stops, though, Bartosz Kloss is coming into the pits this lap, as is Florian Volker, who's just behind him.
Oh, that'd be interesting with Zorbach.
So, as I was saying there, Kloss is coming in this lap. There's a bit of a wider line there for Peter. I wonder if he ran in a little bit too deep, but Volker wasn't able to take full advantage. But Kloss is now into the pits now then. Let's see if he can try and stay in front of Zorbach or whether Zorbach can jump him.
Could it be held up? Yes, he is.
You can just see in the background there, there's Zorbach. He's just coming out of the final turn. He's in fact caught in a bit of traffic. Look on the right-hand side.
Ahead of him.
Going to be ahead, and
there you go.
Zorbach has got the jump on Kloss, and once everybody pits, he'll be in second place. Now, he wasn't far behind De Bauers, let's not forget. Could he potentially be closer to Bauers once he pits?
Yeah, but now the problem for Zorbach is that he has traffic, so he has to clear this ASAP. But De Bauers is pitting.
De Bauers is pitting. Volker's just rejoining P10 after his pit stop. He rejoins in front of Papiro, so he's still in the top 10 position. But as mentioned, De Bauers is coming in this lap in the Penske now then. We'll see him dart to the right very soon. Where he goes then, he's just darted to the right like they did on Grand Prix 4. And into the pits now then comes Bruno De Bauers in the Team Penske car. And let's see how quick the stop is going to be then for championship leader. And where is he going to rejoin in regards to Nicholas Zorbach? And there is Fitzwater. I think he is staying out for at least another lap. There are pit mechanics out there, but I don't think they're Chip Ganassi ones, and they're not. So De Bauers has no problems there. He should still be out in front of Zorbach, but let's see. As he's trundling down pit lane, as he's the positions are tumbling down at the moment because some people see it to pit. He's now off the pit limiter, and he is still going to emerge, in fact, way in front of Zorbach, in fact, because that traffic really helping him out, and De Bauers still emerges in front. But the question is, will Zorbach be able to catch up? I think with fresher tyres from De Bauers might be a little bit tricky, but you never know, of course, especially with some of the lines that some of the drivers are taking around this racetrack at the moment.
Yep, indeed, it was good anticipated from De Bauers and his mechanics and his strategist. So yeah, because of course now it's a buffer between him and his teammate. But Zorbach could be in threat later on.
Indeed so, as Gomez now then makes his way through the final few turns. Now Hal tries to look to the inside as he's trying to recover his race. He's already had to make a first stop, so in effect he's already had his strategy changed and he's already overtaken the Viper there. For V19, there's a bit of a lock-up for Kloss there. I don't think there was contact. I think that might have just been a simple lock-up. No, it was contact, but luckily Kloss was able to just keep it there and didn't spin like we saw from Holloway a little bit earlier. But it just showed there's a bit of desperation going on from Kloss there.
Yeah, that would have had ruined Kloss' race there, or compromised it at least, but luckily he kept it on the island. They could move on without much time loss.
Zorbach is now free for the traffic. It's Gonzalez and Holloway again having a moment at that corner. So I do think this time it had something to do with Gonzalez pushing him rather than Holloway being the one that caused it. And no, in fact, it was the other way around. I do apologise. It's just from the way that they were on the track there, I thought it was the other way around. I think from the moment when we caught it. But again, in the wars for Holloway, but this time he's brought Gonzalez along with him.
Yep, Holloway's having not the good race. It's happened the third time already that he spun at that corner after contact.
I think at this rate, it turn into a bit of an OC meme, if we're totally honest, Dennis. So, anyways, Fitzwater is coming into the pits this lap, as is Igor Peter. So you could say a little bit of a pit stop battle, but given the gap that Fitzwater's got to Peter, maybe not so much. But we'll have to wait and see on that. As I'm trying to see the gap between. I was just gonna. I was actually wondering what the gap was like between De Bauer and. In fact, you can just see it there. Zorbach is actually closing in on De Bauer as Fitzwater and who was the other one? Peter is in the pits now. I think there's just one more car in front that still needs to pit. I think it's Vloy and Volker, if I'm not mistaken. No, in fact, Volker's already pitted. It's somebody else who's in front. So, trying to figure out who that is in front of De Bauer at the moment. He's currently leading the race. He's got a yellow flag, another spin, and this time it's Kirby who's had a moment into that right-hander, and it looks like he's had a collision with Yuri Gabriel. In fact, there was a bit of a train of cars. So the two Brazilians in the wars there, and Kirby spinning off that time by it. Now it's his turn. But at least this time, he's only lost 2 places, unlike what we saw from the others a little bit earlier on. And it's Gomez who's currently needing to pit at the moment. It's Kirby having to wait for a gap in the traffic. So I was a little bit wrong there with the fact that he only lost 2 places there. So a little bit ambitious. But Peter actually came out close behind Fitzwater on that occasion. Fitzwater just able to stay in front after the pit stops there, as they both come out in 6th and 7th respectively. In fact, Volker is in front of both of them, because Volker's already pitted, let's not forget. So he's had a big... what's the word? Undercut or overcut? I get those two mixed up, to be honest with you, Dennis. But he's had a big something, whatever, to get in front of those two.
I think it was a big undercut, to be honest, because if you remember, he pitted at the same time as Kloss did. And Kloss got held up in the pits by the German. So, yeah, but so far for Volker, it's a very good job indeed.
Gomez will be pitting this lap.
Will pit.
I also saw an indication that TJ Bapera will be pitting this lap, so the 2 Carlins will be released unless those 2 have to pit, which I actually can't remember off the top of me. But Gomez is pitting this lap, and he was in a little bit of a fight with the likes. He was in that big train fight, which involved Volker, Peter, and Fitzwater. So it'll be interested to see where he emerges after this pit stop, of course. But he will hand the lead back to Bruno de Barros once he comes in, as TJ Bapera now comes in for the Meyer Shank Racing team, as he now approaches what I consider the car park section of the track, and where we've seen most of the contact happen today. I think it was a similar thing from Formula E, if I'm not mistaken, either, that corner. So, yeah, it seems like it's still a culprit even in the World ChampCar days as well. So, anyway, it's Gomez now then comes into the pits. And let's see where he's going to emerge now to his pit stop. He'll hand the lead back to De Barros, in second place to Zorbach, and Zorbach tries to close in on De Barros, as we could have a fight for the lead pretty soon between those two, which will be pretty interesting, as there's Zorbach around in the final corner, and so is Kloss as well, so the top 3 will get through Gomez pretty easy. A very quick stop for the Andretti guys, only a 6.1 second stop, so looking like a very short stint for Gabriel Gomez. So let's see where he emerges then after this pit stop, as the top 3 have already passed him at this point. Where is Volker on the track? In fact, he's going to rejoin in 4th. So he's actually, thanks to that quick stint, going to rejoin way out in 4th position. So that stint has actually worked out pretty well for him, Dennis.
Indeed. It brought Gomez a lot of positions here. Now he can, maybe with a good amount of pace, he could challenge Kloss for the podium. We have to wait and see.
Indeed so, as meanwhile we look to see Zorbach and De Barros' gap. It doesn't look like it seems to be going up, down a little bit. In fact, De Barros went purple in the first sector there, it seemed, but not by much, and then lost it again in the second sector. So arguably, you could say the pair of them lapping a similar sort of pace at the moment, Dennis.
Yep, indeed. So Zorbach is currently holding the gap between himself and De Barros. Yeah, I think the third sector could be difference. That no, it's Zorbach even gained 2/10 in the final sector.
2.1 is now the gap, so we'll keep an eye on that if that changes. Howell, who of course had to make that impromptu stop, is now back up into 14th position now, so he's basically back in sync with the rest of the pack, really, as he now tries to close in on the Meyer-Shank Racing car that's in front, as Gonzalez trying to make a recovery after his contact earlier on with Toby Holloway, as he's coming up to the back of Kim Sung Min. Meanwhile, 2.033 now the gap between De Baus and Zorbach at the moment, as it's 2 point, in fact, is that 2.3 to the Baus or 2.3 to Zorbach? I'm not sure. No, it's 2.3 to Zorbach. That just got clarified there as we looked at the next screen. But anyway, looking at the gap in the middle sector, it's now down to 1.8. So Zorbach starting to get the hammer down again, Dennis.
Yep, Zorbach now absolutely flying. He's absolutely desperate to challenge the Baus for the win here in this race. It will be fascinating to see how it will develop.
Well, down the inside goes Kirby on Gonzalez, but Gonzalez saying no to that one. And in fact, the leaders are not far away from lapping those guys, as you can see from the distance. Gomez now takes the fastest lap away from the Baus, so 1 minute 4.645. I think that's the first person to break into the 1 minute 4s today in this race. So Gomez now holding on to that bonus point for the fastest lap of the race as things stand at this point, as it's back up to 2 seconds now between De Baus and Zorbach, seeing that De Baus had a better last sector there compared to Nicholas Zorbach at that point. As we ride on board with Sam Thompson, who's trying to get himself back into the points if he can. The guy in front of him, I'm not quite sure who it is who's currently in front. He's got quite a bit of a gap to Cassidy. It's Lucian that's in front. There's Lucian currently holding on to that final points place at the moment that Thompson is eager to try and get and try and see if he can salvage something, because so far it's been a disastrous race for Ferrari, Dennis.
Yep, indeed, especially for Gonzalez, who was involved in a bit of collisions here and there, but also even had the bad starting position. As now I guess he will overtake Kim Sung Min to turn 2. Yes, he is up into P18. He goes.
Pretty simple move there, as now both Kirby and the man who's been causing collisions at the car park section, Toby Holloway, is now on the back of Kim Sung Min as well. Try and keep it clean this time, Toby, if you can. But anyway, as Min trying to hold his own out against these cars who arguably have quicker packages than them at the moment, as they now make their way through the left hand. In fact, I don't think he needs a second invitation. He's trying to have a look into this corner. Goes Kirby, and pretty nice and simple. I don't think Min put too much of a fight on there, Dennis.
No, not really. He knows that Kirby has the quicker car, so I think he didn't put up too much of a fight.
I think it's going to be the same here. Well, in fact, he's going to try and hold it out that time, but I thought he was going to let him go there into that car park section there, but clearly decided to hold it on. But I wouldn't be surprised if Holloway gets him into the corner. And there is the race leader, Bruno De Baus, in fact, who is not far away from this bit of traffic as he rounds the final turn now down the track. There is Zorbach, who's still not been able to get onto the gearbox yet, the Brazilian, but he's also dragging along Barcher's Kloss as well, as he's currently separating the two Penske cars at the moment, being the meat in the Penske sandwich at the moment, as we look now at Holloway, who's trying to see if he can get by on Min pretty easily, as he now makes his way through the right-handers now. Then he goes, and now approaching turn, I think this is turn 5, this is classed as, if I'm not mistaken, as now coming up towards left-hander, where Kirby got by on Min a little bit earlier, but Holloway opting to go to the outside this time by. Could he try and hang it around the outside if he can? I don't think he can, so he's just going to hang back for the moment. As it's 2 seconds now, the gap between Zorbach and De Baus at this point, 2.009 to be exact. Holloway again trying to have a look at Min into the car park section and keep it tidy again this time. And in fact, this time, Holloway thinks better of it. So at least he doesn't cause a fourth collision this time by. But all this is doing is allowing the Bruno to get close. And this might actually help Zorbach here, Dennis.
Yep, that could either help Zorbach or cost him, because he has to pass the traffic as well. You the gap is... Look at that! It's down to 1.3 seconds of 15 right there. No, Holloway's through.
Holloway's finally got the move done on Min there, as now they come up to this traffic that they've got to negotiate. And De Baus not been able to lap him so far, down to 1.1. Needs to hurry up because Zorbach is closing on the leader here as they now come out of turn 6, I think this is. And now coming out, and now De Baus has now been finally able to put a lap there on Min, so Zorbach will need to follow in. In fact, I think he's going to go for it straight away here, and he does. Now look, he's right close to him now, Dennis. We've now got
a fight.
The fight is on now for the lead. It is Penske versus BMW Pyramid in this race now. Then as they now make their way down towards the car park section, Zorbach hasn't won a race in a very long time, it's safe to say. And now he can sense a chance of victory here at the streets of Long Beach.
Yeah, he's absolutely setting all his might to get this first victory in a long time. Actually, I have to check when was the last time that he actually won the race. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Bahrain in GP2 in 2019.
I think it was. I think it was, in fact, because I'm pretty sure last season when he was with the HWA squad, they didn't achieve a victory last season, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be that, really. So I think it was 2019 the last time he's got a victory in the OC. But I also want to point out as well, which we were just looking briefly there, Gomez is actually not far behind either. So Gomez has actually interjected himself in this fight for the podium spot as Kloss tries to close back in onto Zorbach, but he's got Gomez currently closing in on him. So Gomez in the fight for a podium here at the moment.
That will be very exciting in the second half of this race. We have potentially 4 drivers battling for 3 spots in the podium. That will be very interesting indeed.
Zorbach opts to take the wider line there to try and get a bit more speed out of the corner as Gomez negotiates some traffic there. You just saw there going around the outside of Kim Sung-min there as now come up towards turn number 2 on the racetrack now. Then they will go through turn 2 and 3, then into 4 and 5. So I think those corners that we've just they're coming up to here are actually classed as turn 6 and 7. So that's that really. I'll get those numbers correct next time by. They're still coming up to some more traffic, they are, though, because these lot are still fighting just in front. All that could help is now Kirby, again, similar with the Min situation there, didn't need a second invitation, and he goes through pretty simply there on Yuri Gabriel there, as now Holloway will want to do the same there. But as you can see, the leaders are starting to close up on this lot, and given that it's a street track and a very short street track, this could get very, very tasty indeed, as they now approach the car park section. The longer it takes the Bowers to negotiate, the more chance that Zorbach's got again. I mean, he's taken a wider line there. Zorbach decided to go on the inner side line there, unlike the previous occasions. Now Gomez is all over the back of Kloss in the fight for 3rd place. He tried to have a go in there in the last corner, but it didn't quite work out. And now it's under a second between De Bowers and Zorbach yet again. This race of the traffic in front is continuing as Gonzalez there tried to have a go at, I think that was Bartosz Bracki in front for 16th place, as that train is getting even bigger and bigger and bigger. We could even find ourselves in having a Monaco real life 2011 situation here, Dennis, with all this traffic in front.
Yep, that will be absolutely, I would say, nail-biting. Zorbach is very close to the back of the Bowers. Here goes Gonzalez to pass.
Oh, look at this! Look at this! Zorbach trying to have a look alongside De Bowers there, but it didn't quite work out. Wasn't able to get the traction on De Bowers, but he's now right within the slipstream of the championship leader now then, as Zorbach senses an opportunity to try and grab the lead here on the streets of Long Beach. Keep it tight. He's going to try and run around the outside of De Bowers, but can't quite get the move done. De Bowers just holds on to the inside. This traffic is really helping out Zorbach in this fight for the lead now then. De Bowers trying to go 3 wide there with the traffic as Holloway was trying to have a go at Yuri Gable, and this has not helped Zorbach at all because he's been kind of caught up there in that little bit of traffic, and that helped out De Bowers a little bit, but it looks like Yuri Gabriel is trying to unlap himself here on De Bowers. Will he actually let him go? And the answer to that is no, of course, and this is held up Zorbach quite massively here as the battle for 3rd is getting intense now between Gomez and Kloss now. Then there's Kloss trying everything to hold on to that final podium place, but that bit of traffic has helped out De Bowers just that little bit, Dennis.
There's contact. Gabriel's out. Zorbach has no damage.
Zorbach doesn't have any damage, luckily, but he's taken out one. The back mark is in Yuri Gabriel. And, well, maybe a bit of impatience there from Zorbach, Dennis.
Look at that. He's going in the middle. He's going down the inside. Very bold. It lifts Gabriel's car. No avoidance there for the Brazilian. And he's out of the race.
Zorbach, though, will be thankful that he didn't get any damage from that, because that could have been game over right there for the German and any chance of victory.
Yeah, Zoba so lucky that it was tire-to-tire contact and not front wing.
Yeah, so
Maybe also
Zoba's
someone hit
damage.
me. It's close. It was close. Oh no!
Ross has got
He's
damage in the
collected debris
Penske.
like last time out.
A bit like with Howell a little bit earlier on. Did Gomez get any damage? The answer to that is no. So
Nope.
he's going to inherit the podium as a result. Anybody else got damage behind? They have. Kim Sung-min has now got damage from that wheel as well. Is Volker going to hit any debris? He does, but he's not got any damage. So I think they've cleared the wheel. But wow, drama there at that corner. I don't think there'll be...
Oh,
I thought you usually don't give penalties for back marker collisions, Yuri, like with Franco. That's what I was assuming there. Remember in 2019 with Rosetta Martinez at Baku?
ooh.
Was it 2020 where they had a collision at the castle section?
It's a very... It's very late move. It was very late indeed, yeah. By the way, can the people hear you? Oh.
Anyway, so bit of a debate there with Zorbak. So anyway, we'll figure that out as soon as possible. As look, we'll get back to the action now. Then on the track, as Howell comes into the pits. I think we're at the second stop mandatory pit stop stage now because we're on the lap 30 mark, and Howell is coming to the pits now. Then for his second stop, you could arguably say he had to do that a little bit earlier on, given the collision, given the damage he got a little bit earlier on in the race. So. Anyway, we'll try and figure out that thing with Zorbak as soon as we can. But anyway, as we now look at Igor Peter now, then he comes around the final corner and onto the straight he goes. As now will now come towards the right-hander. As Gomez is actually coming in this lap, in fact, in the Andretti. So we're going to be seeing some of the leaders pitting this time by, Dennis.
That will be also very interesting for the development of the next part of the race. Because if you pit early, you could get quite a few laps without much traffic, actually. So yeah, that could be an advantage for the guys who could pit earlier. So yeah, I wouldn't count out Gomez just yet.
So my point was with the whole Zorbak getting a penalty in there. A couple of seasons ago, Franco Gamba went to pass Rosetta Martinez to Baku and he got no penalty for it, even though I felt at the time that was a penalty. But that was my point on that, by the way. So as Gomez is now in the pits, by the way, for Andretti, so he's relinquished third for the moment to Florian Volker. As Gomez is now coming out onto the track. As now Gomez is going to emerge. Where's he going to emerge? He emerges in P number 6. So that's that really. Is Kloss now then is in fact Kloss obviously got damage, and in fact Kloss, you could argue the damage has come at a kind of a right time really, Dennis, because he's now back with Gomez again.
Indeed, he had those few laps to really put the hammer down with free air, not that much traffic. That front wing loss in the end wasn't that much of a disadvantage. Yeah, he lost the place to Gomez, but he's not that far off.
Zorbak, meanwhile, is in the pits, as is Volker. Is now Gomez trying to have a look on his teammate Igor Peter there, but it's not going to quite work out there. So Peter, of course, still needs to pit, but Volker and Zorbak are now both in the pits.
Yeah, I think
see
that
how
will be close at the exit.
Zorbak has finished his pit stop somewhere. He's somewhere in front. There he is, and he's
there
going to join. He joins just in front of Fitzwater in second place there. In fact, Fitzwater might try and get a move here, but no, he rejoins in second place as Peter is now in the pits for Andretti. Volker has finished off his pit stop. Where's he going to emerge then? And he's going to emerge. Where is Volker in this? He rejoins in 6th place. He rejoins behind both Kloss and Gomez at this point. As the Bauhaus is in this lap. This will be it. This will be interesting in his fight with Zorbach. Of course, still having a bit of a debate as to what happens with Zorbach, really. So let's see where De Bauhaus will end up after this pit stop. So anyway, De Bauhaus is now into the pits, and so is Toby Holloway in the Peugeot, but he's a lap down from this lot. So let's see how quick the stop will be then for Bruno De Bauhaus. And so he's now finished his pit stop. As let's see where De Bauhaus is now going to emerge. There's Zorbach in the background. You can just about see the orange car there. Let's see where De Bauhaus will emerge now. Then as here he comes, and I think he's still going to emerge in front, and he does. De Bauhaus is still in front there of Nicholas Zorbach, so he still emerges in the lead of the race. So that's that there for Bruno De Bauhaus. And so we'll try and figure out what that thing with Zorbach, whether he should or shouldn't get a penalty, and afterwards. So that's that really. Is now we look at Zachary Fitzwater now.
2019
at Baku. So anyway, as we now look at Simon Mutka now, then he's on the back of one of the Meyer-Shank racing cars. There's Zorbach. What's the gap between him and De Bauhaus at the end of the second sector? It's 1.4 seconds. So in fact, De Bauhaus with the fresher tyres, maybe starting to get away a little bit at this point, Graf.
Yep, indeed. I am not Graf remover. Yes. So yeah, for De Bauhaus it's looking quite good at the moment.
As meanwhile, look as that's Kloss trying to get by on Holloway there, but he's trying his best to get back at Gomez. He's now back in sync with him after he had to make an early impromptu pit stop for a damaged front wing a little bit earlier on. As De Bauhaus now then goes around turns 2, 3, 4, and 5. He'll soon be going round as Soper now comes into the pits for Carlin, and of course there's still a few guys, as you can see on the bottom of your screen, that still need to do a second pit stop. Lucien and Thompson being two of those drivers, as Gomez now then trying to find a way through on Zachary Fitzwater, although I do believe he still needs to pit, Dennis.
Fitzwater, I think, still has to pit for a second time. So I think he could also pit this lap, but I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, let's see when he will take his second and final pit stop.
As Howell now then comes down the straight, as Joe Pedro Kirby now then in the Chip Ganassi car has had it's fair to say, a disastrous race, has now come into the pits for his final stop of the race. Of course, the second pit stop window is between lap 30 to 40, so there's still a few cars who still have to pit within that window, of course. As Gomez now then still trying to fend off from Kloss, but he's still getting held up at the moment by Zachary Fitzwater, who still needs to pit. As we look at Zorbach, who just comes around turns 2, 3, and 4. As now Gomez tries to have a look at Kirby, who's just come out of the pits, and he might actually provide a bit of protection for Zachary Fitzwater. I'm not really sure why, because Fitzwater is still needing to pit at the moment. So as Thompson, meanwhile, in the Ferrari comes in, there's a big lock up there for Bartosz Bracki coming around the roundabout there. It's kind of similar to what we saw from Fitzwater a little bit earlier on, but thankfully he kept it out of the wall that time by, as he now makes his way through the section of corners now then on the racetrack. 2.1 seconds now is the gap between De Bauhaus and Zorbach. So yeah, it seems that De Bauhaus maybe starting to get away a little bit as Gomez now puts a lap on Gomez as he tries to get a hold of Fitzwater, who we do believe is still yet to pit, and now Kloss will do the exact same thing as through he goes. Thompson has actually dropped to 11, so I think somebody's actually overtaken him on the track there as Kloss tried to have a go there at Gomez, as Fitzwater now finally comes into the pits for Chip Ganassi. You can just see him on the right-hand side there on your screen. Fitzwater now in the pits for Chip Ganassi. Let's see where he'll emerge then after this pit stop now then, as there's more mechanics now then emerging from their garages. A 6.6 second stop then for Fitzwater for the final stint of the race. Let's see where he is going to emerge now then, as now he rejoins in 7th place. So he rejoins just in front of Igor Peter, in fact, who's not really had the best of races so far, Dennis.
Not really. So far, not working out that well, to be honest. There's still a bit to go.
It's now down to 1.6 now between Zorbach and De Bauer. So I don't know if De Bauer has actually come up to some traffic or whether Zorbach has started to get the hammer down. I'm not sure. Gonzalez, meanwhile, is into the pits. It's Peter now looking to the inside of Fitzwater, and that's an easy move there. Maybe Fitzwater still
Very
trying to
easy.
get the tyres up to temperature, and now Peter up into 7th place now then. As
All the gaps come down massively. 8 tenths between
Indeed.
Zorbach and De Bauers.
Indeed so, as they now come down the straight. As now come across the line and come around the long swooping right-hander now then on the racetrack. For approaching turns 2, 3, 4 and 5. As we ride on board with Bartosz Bracki in the Viper. As now we look at De Bauers, he's actually struggling with traffic, and this could help open the door for Zorbach to try and grab the lead here off of Bruno De Bauers as De Bauers gets by on the traffic there, and so does Zorbach. So we've got the battle for the lead going on again here, Dennis.
Yeah, but it's still depending on Zorbach, maybe or maybe not getting a penalty for his crash, but we need to look at see. But at this moment, we have a battle in our hand.
Okay, so no penalty for Zorbach. Yuri has just decided there after seeing the crash that happened with Gamba and Martinez a couple of seasons ago in the top class. It was a similar incident, and he's decided that Zorbach will not get a penalty for that. So that's that really. Also, you could argue the corner did look a little bit dodgy there, to be quite honest with you. So, like it has been for some of the corners around here, which could put this race into a bit of question for next season, for being totally honest with you. But anyway, back to the action now that we've got that one out of the way. Alex Eric Lucin is now into the pits for Peugeot. As Lucien is now into the pits for Peugeot, as Fitzwater and Peter now all gain places as a result, as we're pretty much close to the point where the second round of pit stops window kind of closes off. As it's 1.4 seconds now, the gap between De Bauers and Zorbach after the second sector, so the gap has now gone up as Kloss is still trying to find a way through on Gomez, but so far just can't seem to find a way through at the moment.
No, not really. He tries to move. It doesn't work at the moment. So it's still very close battle between those two. Oh, look at this!
He's trying to have a go.
Side by side, but
couldn't get the move
Gomez
done. It
got
seemed
better
that
exit.
Gomez just got that better traction out of the final corner there, although Kloss is still in the slipstream. Gomez has to go a bit defensive as Kloss tries to have a look on the inside. Can he get the move done into turn 2? Not quite. Gomez just able to hold on for the moment as they go through these next section of corners now. Then we go. As they now approach the right-hander now then on the racetrack. As now you can see that Gomez now then is trying to fend off from Bartosz Kloss, as their battle for third is still continuing. Meanwhile, Thompson trying to get himself back into the points as he's all over the back of Simon Mutka now then in their fight for the final points place as they now come around the first corner. Now back with De Bauers now then on the racetrack. The right-hander we go. As now they come around the car park section. As now they come down towards the bit where the car park section is of the track, as the Manos are keeping itself tidy. As we now look to the battle for third, as we look now at Toby Holloway, as the battle for third still continues, although it does look like that Kloss may have dropped a little bit back on that occasion, Dennis, because maybe that corner he may have taken a bit of a wrong line there through into the final turn, as we've now got 10 laps to go. So we've now passed the mandatory pit stop stages, and now it is just a sprint to the finish. The gap between Zorbach and De Bauers is 2 seconds, so that's what the gap currently stands like at this point, as they now make their way through the final few turns on the racetrack. And now into the final corner and onto the pit straight we go, as Thompson trying his best to get a hold of Soper in front. As now we look at Volker now then, who's trying his best to lap Holloway. As so far having another good race, it's safe to say, Dennis.
Yep, indeed. It's so far very good outing for him. Yes, hopefully it will last until the checkered flag.
As we now look at Rubino Gonzalez, now that's a big lock up there as Gomez tries to lap him, and well, he was very lucky there to keep it out of the wall there, Dennis, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed, that's very close indeed.
It now looks like that Gomez is starting to pull away now from Kloss. Maybe the older tyres that Kloss has got is starting to affect him a bit. And in fact, as I say that, Gonzalez is actually trying to unlap himself there, but Gomez saying no to that. So a bit of a weird one there, it's fair to say.
Yep, indeed. But yeah, they know what they're doing, so I think they should keep doing what they're doing.
As they now make their way through the right-hander, now coming on to the straight, as Zorbach is now right onto the back of De Baus. So we've actually got a fight for the lead brewing yet again between the top two of De Baus and Zorbach in this race as they now come around these final few turns on the racetrack. Now then, let's see what De Baus can do to try and fend off from Zorbach. Is he taking a wide line? Zorbach going to the inside. Can he grab the lead? Nope, because De Baus will just have the traction coming out and he's going to stay in front for the moment as we've got 8 laps to go here on the streets of Long Beach.
Yeah, that looked like a very big final battle for the race win. Of course, for Bruno De Baus it will be quite a brilliant win because, according to Twitter, it's his birthday today.
Whose birthday is it, sorry?
For Bruno.
Oh, Bruno. Well, it'd be a nice birthday present if he ends up winning this race today, but he's got a very hungry German trying to get his first win in quite a while, and he's taking the inside line going into the corner. Is this the lead change? And it is!
Come on, leads!
Zorbach takes the lead here on the streets of Long Beach. He takes the lead from Bruno De Baus, and that looked pretty easy there, Dennis.
Yeah, that was easier than expected, to be honest. So, yeah, that was completely a jinx for myself. To say. But yeah, Nicolas Zorbach now leads the race with 8 laps to go.
Can he hold on, though? That is going to be the question, because you know that De Baus will be trying to charge back if he can now. Then at the moment, he's so far going to be sticking with the German at this point in time, though he takes a wider line going into the car park section there, maybe to try and see if he can try and get some traction. But now Zorbach, he's going to have this trouble now with the traffic.
Yeah, traffic's also a big factor in every race, on every track, especially in street tracks. But yeah, he got past the traffic quite easily.
Now we look at Toby Holloway. He just comes out of that final turn, taking a wider line through into there as we've got 6 and a bit laps to go in this race now then, as Peter looking like he's having a pretty lonely race. In the meantime, we've got a battle for 8th brewing. This is going to get tight. Lucien on the inside of Soper as they go side by side through into the car park section, but Soper just able to hold on for the moment, and he holds on to that 8th place for the time being as Lucien takes an inside line there, but Soper will get some traction unless they're just going to remain side by side. Side by side go the pair of them now, then going through the flat out turn 1. Soper will have the inside going into turn 2.
That's a great fight.
I think Soper might just have the edge to stay in front of Lucien for the time being as he make the way into turn 2, and Soper is just going to hold on for the moment.
Yeah, that was a great battle between those two over multiple corners, side by side almost. But yeah, Soper staying in front for the moment.
The moment he does indeed, but that battle looks like it's going to continue for the remaining few laps as Zorbach has started lap 45 of 50 in this race now. Then as Lucien try and have a look to the inside, try and do a similar route to what Zorbach did earlier, and he's got the move done as he got a yellow flag, and it's Volker! Volker's at the moment at the final corner. Now, did he get clipped or was that a driver error? But either way, somebody's in the pits now then, as was there damage? In fact, it was Volker trying to lap Kirby there, and well, it looks like there was a collision there, and I don't know who got damage from that, who's coming to the pits. In fact, it's Gonzalez, and it looks like, in fact, it's an electrical problem for Gonzalez. Gonzalez has an electrical problem, so he's had to make an impromptu pit stop, but luckily for Volker.
Now I know what happened here. Of course, Gonzalez tried to take the close line to the pit entry, and Volker was
That's Kirby, Dennis. That's Kirby.
Oh, Kirby, oh. So yeah, I mixed the cars up, sorry.
Gonzalez had nothing to do with
that. The cars look so similar, that's why.
Well, luckily for Volker, he hasn't lost a place, so he's just going to hold on to 5th place, but not really ideal, safe to say, Dennis. As Lucien has obviously got the place now off of Soper, we saw that move a little bit earlier on, and he's now on 4 championship points as a result. But disaster for Gonzalez, Dennis.
Yep, indeed. That's the only way to describe it. It's an absolute disaster for him. And yeah, he has to prepare for the next race, which is, of course, Silverstone.
Yep, and that will be I wish people would stop saying that. But anyway, as Peter now then puts a lap on I think that's Francesco La Rosa there, as it's looking like it's going to be a pretty lonely race for him, and he's going to lose even more points to Bruno de Bauer at this point, as Kirby trying to have a look to the inside of Holloway. I thought for a minute there Holloway was going to have another moment into that corner, but it looks like on this occasion he's kept it clean as their battle for 15th continues, as Kirby trying to have a look to the inside of the final turn as they go side by side down the straight, and Holloway just going to hold on for the moment as they now come down the straight, as Kirby now then looks to the inside of Toby Holloway as they go side by side down towards turn 2. Is Kirby going to get the move done? And the answer to that is yes. He's up into 15th as a result, but either way, it has been a disastrous race for him. Meanwhile, Bracky and La Rosa now then are fighting for 17th and 18th now then, as La Rosa goes through into 17th place there, so position game for them as Fitzwater trying to lap him at this point. I think somebody's actually coming to the pits again there. I saw an indication there that somebody was coming into the pits, unless it was just catching up. I'm not sure. No, there is somebody in the pits. That is Kim Sung Min. Was that a mechanical failure, or was that a late pit stop? Let's see, as he's now coming out of the pit lane, and no, actually, I'm not sure really. There's no mechanical failure there, and he's got plenty of fuel in his wagon. Has he got damage somewhere on the car that we can't see? There's no change.
Doesn't look like it.
A weird one.
Weird pit stop indeed.
Let's have a look. Was it a scheduled pit stop? I'm not sure. No,
Yes,
it was a scheduled stop. It was a scheduled stop, so a bit strange. Although then again, he did lose his front wing a little bit earlier on, so that might explain it. So a bit of a strange one there for Manor, because
it's
a bit
weird.
Strange there.
That stop was completely useless, I have to say.
That was a bit of a weird one there. But anyway, back to the action. As we've got 4 laps to go now then in this race, as we look at TJ Papero, who looks like he may have had could have a bit of a moment through into that bit, but at least he's able to keep it through, as Fitzwater having trouble trying to lap the back markers here, as he's trying his best to close in on Peter, but it looks like time is running out, as Zorbach is now continuing to pull away from Bruno de Bauer now then, as we now look at Sam Thompson, who's currently lying in 11th position, as a lock up there for Kloss. He's trying everything he can to get onto Gomez, as the battle for 3rd place has resumed there, but now he's lost a little bit of time as a result of that lockup.
Yep, that was a bit too much, I would say, risk to take, but he kept it on the track. But it's not over yet.
As he's now caught back up to the back of Gabriel Gomez, as Gomez was trying to negotiate the traffic that was in front. It was one of the Meyershank racing cars that he was trying to lap there, and it's kind of compromised his entrance through into the left under, which in turn means that Kloss is able to get back into the gearbox there, as he's trying his best to make it a double podium, as he takes a wide line again there to Gomez, and Kloss doing everything he can to get by on the Brazilian as they now make their way into the final turn. 3 laps to go for Nicholas Zorbach now then, as they now come out of the hairpin. So now they come down the pit straight now then, as they come around the long swooping right-hander now then of turn 1, and all of this is losing Kloss time to Gomez, although if you look in front it looks like the Meyershank is trying to unlap himself at the expense of Gomez. Is he going to get through? The answer to that is no, although Kloss for some reason takes a wider line through into there for some reason, as you can see there's quite a lot of tyre marks there being built up at that corner, Dennis, due to the amount of lockups that we've seen at that corner.
Indeed.
We saw Fitzwater locking up earlier. We saw, I think, somebody in the midfield locking up, and now we've seen Kloss lock up at that corner. So, either way, all of them have been lucky not to hit the wall today. Yeah,
we only have seen one guy in particular hitting the wall, and that wasn't even by his fault, I would have to say.
We nearly saw somebody else go into the wall there, because Volker just had a lock-up going through into turn 7 there, but luckily kept it out of the wall there. He's looking a little bit ragged in that 5th position, but so far it does look like as long as he doesn't get it into the wall, he looks like he will get P5 in this race.
Yeah, that was lucky escape.
As we've got 2 laps to go then, so Zorbach has started the penultimate lap here on the streets of Long Beach, as we look at Kirby, who's in this fight with Papero and Holloway at the moment, as they're currently continuing their scrap for 14th position. As 2 to go for Nicholas Zorbach, as mentioned there, as they come down the pit straight now, then just trying to have a look. 1.6 the gap between Gomez and Kloss at the moment, so at the moment it looks like that Gomez is going to hold on to that third place. I think the chance that Kloss has had has kind of wiped out, and you do feel that maybe if it wasn't for that front wing loss that he had earlier, maybe the podium would have been his, Dennis.
So wait, could it been close?
I was talking about Kloss.
Okay, yeah. That was a big shame. He was on the podium place, but in that, I would say, controversial crash, he lost his front wing, and that, I would say, wrecked his chances for the podium, as I said. For him, it's a big shame. I think he won't be very happy as we start the final lap of the race.
Nicholas Zorbach is on his final lap here on the streets of Long Beach. We've got a problem. That's
fire.
His car is on fire. Car is on fire for Barges Bracky on the final lap of the race. He suffers from a mechanical failure, and that is race over for him. But I think he'll still be classified anyway because he has done 90% of the race distance. Gomez did get held up a bit there, so maybe Kloss could take advantage, and it is listed as an engine failure for Barges Bracky. Let's get to a replay quickly before Zorbach gets to the end of the race there, as he's parked up at the entrance of turn 1 there. I'm not sure where Zorbach is on the track, but anyway, let's see where the engine blew up, basically. It blew up quite a while ago, in fact, and it blew up. He actually went a full lap, it's fair to say. It blew up just after turn 1 on the 48th lap. So coming around this corner, you'll see the flames go up in
That is the smoke.
Started off as smoke, and then a little bit later on, it then turned into fire. But as mentioned, I think he will still be classified because he did complete 90% of the race distance, of course. And where does the fire emerge? Is it around here? Still smoking at the moment, but there you go. It's right there. Right there is where it burst a light, basically. Trying to find the words there. It burst a light, and that's, race over early for Barges Bracky. And he pulls off to the side just at the entrance of turn 2 there. But we need to get to Nicholas Zorbach, who is somewhere around on the racetrack. And he's actually coming up towards just coming up towards the end of Sector 2 now. And, you could say it could be controversial given the contact that happened earlier on. But he did look quicker than Bruno de Barros all race. And he's finally going to get his first win in a very, very long time. And his first win in World Champ Car. So it's de Barros' streak is going to come to an end today, and a different manufacturer is going to win here in World Champ Car, because around the final corner, it is Nicholas Zorbach who is going to win on the streets of Long Beach in the BMW Pyramid. Well done to him indeed, a fully deserved victory, even with that collision earlier. Nicholas Zorbach is a winner again. Bruno de Barros finishes in second, Gabriel Gomez crosses the line in third, Klaus will cross the line in fourth. What might have been for him had he not lost his front wing earlier on. Cassidy 13th in the end there, Papero will be in 14th as he's going to stay in front. Volker is going to cross the line in 5th position despite all the issues that he had towards the back end of the race. It's 5th place for Florian Volker in the McLaren. P6 for Igor Peter. He loses more points to Bruno de Barros in the Drivers' Championship as a result. P6 for him. Zachary Fitzwater, he's going to cross the line in 7th place. Just didn't really have the pace today, it's fair to say. Alex-Eric Lucien is going to pick up more points in the Peugeot in 8th position. 9th place is going to go to Frederick Soper in the Carlin. So P9 goes to him, and I think his teammate is going to wrap up the points. Yes, Simon Mutka finishes in 10th, so double points for Carlin Thompson. Finishing 11th, no points for Ferrari in this race, and Howe in 12th position. But Nicholas Zorbach is your winner here on the streets of Long Beach. And, a well-deserved win nonetheless, and BMW win. As a result, on the day after, they announced that they will return into the top class. So, here is your final results then. Nicholas Zorbach wins the race from Bruno de Barros in second. Gabriel Gomez is in third, with Barges Kloss in fourth. Florian Volker is in fifth, with Igor Peter sixth. Zachary Fitzwater 7th. Alex-Eric Lucien in 8th, with Frederick Soper 9th. Simon Mutka in 10th, with Sam Thompson in 11th position. And you can do the rest of the results, Dennis.
So John Howell is in P12. He recovered quite well, I think. He was the last guy on the lead lap. Thomas Cassidy is in P13. TJ Papio in P14. Toby Holloway after the 3 spins at that same corner in P15. With JP Kirby in P16. Rubino Gonzalez in P17. It was a dreadful race for him. Francesco La Rosa is in P18. Kim Sung Min is in P19. And Bartos Buck is still classified despite that fire. Yuri Gabriel got eliminated by Zorbach, and he's retired, and Balenzorger's suspension failed, which led him to retire from the race.
And the fastest lap of the race went to Gabriel Gomez. So Gomez gets the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race to add onto the points that he got for his podium today. So 16 points going the way to Gabriel Gomez today. Well, there you have it then. That has been it from the streets of Long Beach. Whether or not it'll be on the calendar next season, given the chaos we've had today, I am not so sure. A bit of a debatable one, but we'll find that out in, well, close to the future, I guess. But that has been it then. I hope you have enjoyed it. Of course, we're not done with live streams for today because a little bit later on at 7 p.m. BST, we, of course, have the Formula 2 qualifying session over at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. We, of course, have the top class this weekend, also from Spielberg, and the first ever entrance series meeting as well, also from Spielberg, ironically. Also, this weekend, we do have a very big weekend as well. DTM is on this weekend at Aragon, but we also have Formula E, which is returning at Estoril, and another race for World ChampCar this weekend as well. This weekend, coming to you from Silverstone, the first race outside the Americas for this series. So a big week for GP4C, especially as well, given as well it is sign-up week as well. So look forward to that indeed. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Dennis, and we will see you, next week, well, this coming weekend for the Silverstone race for World ChampCar. Till then, take care.
Bye,